As to where Aaron Judge is going to be next year. I don't think the winter meetings ends with him still not on a team.
Speaking of San Diego,
yes,
my favorite little, and we'll turn this into the Phillies, but Trea Turner had a higher offer from the Padres,
by like
reportedly
$50 million too, not by an insignificant amount of money. They offered him more. The Padres offered him more than the Mets gave to Francisco Lindor with his extension, and that was $10,341.
God bless the Padres and AJ Preller, man. He doesn't stop.
No, he traded Trea Turner literally like 3 months after he was drafted, and he has been trying to get Trea Turner back like ever since. It's very funny.
Do you think that's why he didn't take it? Like it was something so well, he's just like,
it's like, well, you could have had me forever,
right? And you just you traded me, so you're not gonna get my abilities over the next couple of years. And I mean, you get to reunite Turner and Harper in Philadelphia, but like that has me wondering. I mean, is this the Dansby spot now? Does Dansby take that money for San Diego? Like the fact that Trea Turner was offered that, the Padres, I mean, they have every right to be like. I just wonder if maybe that's the other thing we need to wait for. Is Fernando Tatis the Yankees pivot? Where
man, I don't know about that.
I think there's a strong possibility that they're looking around. They're like, we're so close, but we cannot count on Fernando Tatis Jr. anymore.
See,
why else would you go all in for Trea Turner?
I think that's the team situation that behind closed doors one that I most want to like understand is what is Fernando Tatis Jr.'s standing in San Diego right now, because for as much as like I agree with the general idea that like you sign the best players you can, and if San Diego thought Trea Turner was going to make them a better team for 2023 and beyond, you do it. You don't, and you worry about who plays where later. But on the other hand, you did just give Fernando Tatis a 9-figure extension, ostensibly to be your franchise shortstop for the length of that contract, if not the great majority, or at least the great majority of it. And a year later, we are now in a position where it's like, if the Padres had signed Trea Turner, would Fernando Tatis have become an outfielder?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what we're not talking about enough.
So it's like, and I understand the PED suspension obviously threw in a gigantic wrench into a lot of it. And that's, I think, part of what I'd love to know is, did that change the calculus in San Diego's front office as to, wait, we cannot build around this guy. He's not the guy we thought he was. Maybe it's, he's Fernando Tatis Jr., for as talented as he is and for as good of a kid as he seems to be, also does seem to have a habit of making rash, stupid decisions and then trying to lie his way out of them, which speaks, I think, mostly to the fact that he's very young and got to be very rich and a superstar very young, which, ask A-Rod.
I mean, he came from a
ask A-Rod what that
family.
does to your personality.
Like, he got to see it with his dad. So it's not like this just never understood the MLB. I mean, that wasn't a star like him, but I mean, he was around major league players. And
I mean, that's fair.
League, yeah.
But I do, regardless, I do wonder, like, is there something about Tatis so far that has convinced the Padres that they do not want to build around him anymore? And that they would rather. I mean, maybe some of it is as simple as they just don't believe in him defensively anymore, particularly because of the shoulder injuries he's suffered, and they don't want him making throws from shortstop on the regular. Maybe that's part of it, or maybe it is the PED suspension and the broken wrist he suffered while on a motorcycle, and the fact that he, like, for as much as I love his play style, it can be a little out of control at times. I wonder if they're just thinking this guy is not mature enough to be the face of this franchise. We need to figure something out, and maybe that means taking him off the shortstop position right now. I don't know. Like, if San Diego had gotten Turner, I think there would have been some really, really interesting questions following that.
That is an expensive-ass team.
It really would have been, between Tatis, between Machado.
Would that have made them the highest payroll in baseball? It had to have.
It would have been up there. I mean, and that's considering, too, that at some point in the next year and a half, San Diego needs to start thinking about what a Juan Soto extension looks like. Which I'm not convinced he's actually going to sign one in San Diego unless they make one that's way above market value, because this is Scott Boras we're talking about as his representation. But still, like, they were prepared to add a $300 million deal on for a shortstop when they already have a shortstop, when they have another superstar player who's even younger than Turner, who's going to be looking at $450 million plus, presumably, when his time comes around.
Well, that's the other part of it, right? Is they don't know it's like Soto. They're probably expecting, like you said with Boras, like this is a very, very small window with Juan Soto. And we gave up a lot to get Juan Soto. We just cannot put that many eggs in the Fernando Tatis Jr. basket. We just
No,
can't.
or maybe the feeling is we can't put eggs in the baskets of either Tatis or Soto, and Machado is already past 30.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
They're going to do something else. The Padres tipped their hand here.
They're not like there's no way AJ Preller gets through a winter meetings without doing something wild, and it has to be always at like 2 a.m. But yeah, I would have been fascinated to see what San Diego would have done with Turner if it had managed to sign him. I think with Philly, the fit is obvious, the reasoning is obvious, the money makes, I think, perfect sense. I mean, I know it's $300 million for the next 11 years, but like 11 years from now is literally the year 2033.
You just went to the World Series. Who cares?
Yeah, and also like 11 years from now may as well not exist. We all might not be here in 11 years. Like let's not to get too like fatalistic, but it's like you worry about 2033 when you get closer to 2033. And there's no question whatsoever.
It's also not your money.
And it's not your money. Yeah, if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies, you don't care what John Middleton has to spend.
Yeah.
He's spending so you can be happy. That's the whole point. Him spending more means you are more likely to be happy. Like that's the way it should. That's the calculus you should do in your head. But it's hard to argue that the Phillies are not a better team with Trea Turner. I think that lineup is going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with next season, especially if Nick Castellanos gets back to any level of functionality. In defensively, that